Week 1 of LSU Fall Camp is in the books. We'll give you our observations. It's Locked on LSU. Here we go.
You are Locked on LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, let's get it. It is Locked on LSU, your team every day. I'm your host, Matt Moscona. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. We are free, available wherever you get podcasts, of course, on YouTube as well. So please subscribe. As always, one of the fastest ways to help us grow is by leaving your comments below. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Week 1 of LSU Fall Camp is in the books. Tigers practiced 4 times, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then we're off on Sunday. The media had access to 3 of those 4 practices, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday. Both Wednesday and Saturday, we got the full allotment of time of the entire practice. Thursday was an abbreviated 15-minute viewing, but in the roughly 3 hours that I've been able to watch this LSU team so far in practice, I feel like I've been able to take away and deduce some things from this. Now, it's early. I want to be very clear. It's so early, and it's hard to make wide, sweeping observations, and everybody wants to hear those right now, and I understand it. I'm respectful of that. But the first 2 practices we saw, they were in helmets only. On Saturday, of course, it was helmet shoulder pads. There was a little more physicality, so you're seeing a little bit more. But even with that, I'll tell you, this is my 19th fall camp at LSU that I've covered. And I feel like at this point, having done this so many times, I have a really good sense of what I'm looking at, what I can deduce that is actually translatable, and what is just fall camp practice. So I want to run through a few things that are my biggest takeaways so far. And of course, Tigers will be back on the practice field. As Brian Kelly mentioned, 21 fall camp practices leading up to the game week before Clemson. So there's a lot of runway still, and we're going to learn much more about this team. But I'll give you some early insights, and a lot of it is actually going to correlate with the things that we were maybe looking at as they pushed off from the dock. I'll tell you my single biggest observation so far. Without a doubt, the single biggest observation has been the defensive depth. And I'm going to dig a little deeper here to explain what I mean. But it has been so apparent that the 2s and the 3s on defense are light years ahead of the offense by way of experience and talent. And that's not a knock on the offense. I think it's more of an illustration of what was intentional by this coaching staff, this front office, when they went and built this roster. Let's be very clear. In 2023, LSU was the number 1 offense in America. They led the country in total offense and scoring offense. The defense was quite literally the worst in the history of the program. They fire Matt House. They bring in Blake Baker. You go from 109th in total defense to somewhere around the 50s, 60s. You're about the mid-range point of the country in all the statistical categories. So you were dramatically better, but you still weren't good. So meanwhile, you still went out last year and had a 4,000-yard passer. Your offense was plenty good enough. Not that it was great. You were 104th in the country in rush offense. So you had to work on running the ball. We'll get to that in a second. But the big bugaboo is and has been defense. You had to improve defense. So what did LSU do in the transfer portal? They went and hammered the defense. They added Jack Pyburn and Jamari Butler and Patrick Payton and Sadir Mitchell and Mansour Delane and Bernard Gooden and AJ Halsey and Tamarcus Cooley and Jakeem Jackson. Like, they went and just hammered down on defense to add talented veteran players. And it is so obvious when you go out there. Listen, I know everybody wants to know about the starters, and rightfully so. But keep in mind, when you get into a game situation in August 30th at Clemson or into September, October, November, the ones aren't going to go on the ones and the twos against the twos. It's just you're going to go play a game. And your depth is going to be key in that game, whatever game it is. So, but consider in practice, when you run ones versus ones, twos versus twos, what you see is a really good first unit on both sides of the ball. But then you go out there with the twos. And for example, like at one point the first day, these were your twos. Patrick Payton and Jabari Butler were your ends. Jacoby and Guillory and Bernard Gooden were your tackles. AJ Halsey, Tamarcus Cooley were your safeties. That's not even counting like Devon Keys at linebacker and PJ Woodland at corner, guys who have played. Just those six guys I mentioned, Payton, Butler, Halsey, Cooley, Guillory, Gooden, just those six have combined for 197 career games played. Payton 40, Butler 36, Halsey 36, Cooley 17, Guillory 41, Gooden 27. Those six combined for 197 games played. Those were your twos day one. So we go out there and watch a team period on day one, and the first offense runs a hurry up, no huddle, and they move right down the field and they score. Berrien Brown scored the touchdown. We'll get to that in a second. But the twos go out there, and Tylen Singleton gets a sack, and Patrick Payton gets a sack, and you get a pass breakup by DJ Pickett, and PJ Woodland drops a would-be interception. I mean, like, you're looking and you're going, there was a middle screen incomplete because of pressure. You're going, that makes a lot of sense. The second offensive line is left to right, true freshman Carius Kern, Paul Mabinga, a walk-on in Braden Augustus, Cohen Eccles, and Bo Bordelon, excuse me. None of them outside of Mabinga has ever started a game. So, yeah, I'm talking about dudes with 197 starts. Of course they should overwhelm your second team. But you're not going to go ones-on-ones, twos-on-twos. The point I'm making here is, on the defensive side of the ball, you are at no point an injury away from wrecking your season. Now, I'm going to knock on Formica here because nobody wants to see an injury of any kind. But my point is, you could lose any of your starters, and there's somebody that's a super talented, experienced backup on call, ready to go. That's great depth. LSU didn't have great frontline players the last 2 years, let alone great depth. Now you're talking about a front line that includes Gabe Relaford, Jack Pyburn at end, Dominic McKinley, and Ahmad Bro at tackle. Your cornerbacks are Mansour Delane, who led Virginia Tech last year, led the ACC in interceptions, and Ashton Stamps, who's now a 3-year starter. We'll see what happens at safety, because I think Cooley and Halsey are going to end up being your safeties. Whit Weeks, West Weeks at linebacker, Harold Perkins at the star. Like, that's a great first unit. And then they're backed up by Payton, Butler, Halsey, Cooley, Guillory, Gooden. Now, I do think Halsey and Cooley are both going to end up being starters. And Payton, Butler, Guillory, Gooden are all going to end up key parts of your rotation. But the point is that the defensive depth is so obvious. It is so obvious when you go out there. You could be a friggin' Martian, like an inorganic being from Mars who gets on a flying saucer, lands in Baton Rouge, goes out to the McClendon practice facility, knows nothing about what these weird guys in all this combat armor are doing, and go, there's a lot of really good players dressed in purple. That's a very noticeable thing for anybody watching this team right now. So that's number one, I would tell you, is the defensive depth. It was a key part of what they were intentionally doing in the transfer portal, was to build up the talent, the depth on the defensive side, and they have succeeded in a very big way. So what are a couple of the other takeaways? We'll get to that as we continue. Locked on LSU, your team every day. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Let's be honest. Some days on the course or off of it, you just need that extra boost to stay sharp and to get energized. I can tell you, whether it's golf or life, 5-Hour Energy is a great pick-me-up. I love taking it before I do my 3-hour radio show. Not only does it give me the energy, but the laser-like focus to get through the day. As far as golf, though, it's all about good times with good people and good flavors, of course. The grape ginger lime flavor gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without chasing down the beverage cart. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that's the number 5, hourenergy.com. You can use my promo code LOCKEDONGOLF to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September the 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion-flavored 5-Hour Energy shots today. Show's also brought to you by our friends over at Our Lady of the Lake, championship health partner of LSU Athletics. Of course, we always say Our Lady of the Lake and LSU, together we roar. And Our Lady of the Lake and LSU, this partnership is outstanding, but it's so much more than just about athletics. It's about caring for an entire community. You see, Our Lady of the Lake is part of the Franciscan Missionaries of Our Lady Health System, which is a multi-state health system consisting of hospitals, clinics with all different types of specialties, expert cancer care, stroke, heart, pediatrics. They do it all. And I can speak to that from personal experience. My son is cared for by some specialists at Our Lady of the Lake Children's Hospital in Baton Rouge. My own personal physician, my primary care physician, is Dr. Curtis Chastain at Our Lady of the Lake Men's Health Group. It's not just something that I talk about here. It's something I live in my day-to-day life. If you need world-class care right here at home, you want the same physicians and trainers that care for the LSU athletes, the LSU students, and all of our state and community. Our Lady of the Lake. Learn more at ololrmc.com/LSU. That's ololrmc.com/LSU. Our Lady of the Lake and LSU. Together, we roar. So, as we make our way through our camp observations, the defensive depth is very clearly and obviously far and away, for me, number one. Number two is the talent at receiver. The first day we got to watch fall camp, they started inside. The offense went right down the field and scored on a 11-on-11, hurry up, no huddle. Nussmeier hit Berrien Brown on about a 40-yard touchdown pass where he burned Ashton Stamps for the touchdown. And I looked at that and was like, man, that looked easy. They go outside, and the catch of the day was true freshman Teron Francis over true freshman DJ Pickett. Now, we're all expecting DJ Pickett is going to play a key role on this LSU defense. It was a play down the left sideline, and Pickett was just blanketed in coverage all over Francis. It was a a physical contested catch, and Teron Francis came down with the ball. And I looked at that and I went, that's an amazing catch from a guy that is not going to play a snap of football this year. And it's not a knock on Teron Francis at all. It's only to say, when I look at what LSU has at receiver, this is an embarrassment of riches. Aaron Anderson is back, who was LSU's leading returning receiver a year ago. Xavier Thomas is also back, as is Chris Hilton. Chris Hilton, each of the last 2 years in fall camp, was LSU's best receiver in fall camp. Each of the last 2 years. And that includes 2023. And I understand, fully understand, Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas were on that 2023 team. I'm here to tell you, with my own eyes, I was there, watched it. Chris Hilton was the best receiver on the team in fall camp. But injuries have derailed his career to this point. And you saw glimpses at the end of 2024 when he came back, and he scored touchdowns in each of his final 3 games, each of LSU's final 3 games when he was healthy and out there. But I'm here to tell you, in fall camp of 2024, Chris Hilton was LSU's best wide receiver. Better than Kyron Lacy, better than Aaron Anderson, better than Xavier Thomas. He was the guy nobody could guard that was continuously making plays. As a matter of fact, the play he got hurt on in 2024 was a jump ball front corner of the end zone where he came down with it, scored a touchdown, and landed on a teammate's foot, suffered a stress fracture in his foot, and ultimately it cost him the bulk of his season. But all that to say, Aaron Anderson, Xavier Thomas, Chris Hilton, you add Nick Anderson from Oklahoma, who 2 years ago averaged 21 yards a reception. Y'all, that's basically on par with what Jamar Chase did in 2019. When you look at Jamar Chase's numbers from his Biletnikoff season, Jamar Chase in 2019 averaged 21.2 yards per reception. Nick Anderson 2 years ago, when he was healthy, averaged 21 yards a catch. That's an average. I'm not saying he's Jamar Chase. I'm not saying he's going to win the Biletnikoff. What I'm telling you is he is an elite level power 4 receiver that is a game breaker who might be the 4th best guy on this team. Oh, I haven't even mentioned Berrien Brown, who is an All-American at Kentucky early in his career. I will also continue to say this. Shame on Mark Stoops, coaching malpractice for his inability to find a way to get Berrien Brown involved in their offense at Kentucky. Berrien Brown saw his numbers at Kentucky decrease each of his 3 years in Lexington. If you go look at Berrien Brown's statistics over 3 years at Kentucky, as a freshman, he caught 50 balls for 628 yards. As a sophomore, 43 for 539. Last year as a junior, 29 receptions for 361. I get it. He had Brock Vandegrift spinning the pill in Lexington. But I'm here to tell you, every single time we go out to practice, Berrien Brown is making LSU defenders look silly. The first day of camp, there was a hard count. LSU defense jumps off sides. They got a free play. Berrien Brown dusts Ashton Stamps for a 40-yard touchdown. That was inside. I could go on and on and on about all the plays that Berrien Brown has made. In an 11-on-11 period, they had Berrien Brown on a shallow cross. On day 1, I could go to day 2 where we only got to see inside. Brown was running the first team when Aaron Anderson wasn't out there. Brown caught a slant for a touchdown running with the ones. On Saturday, when we got to watch the full team period, Berrien Brown had the most impressive win of the day where he beat Jakeem Jackson by probably 5 yards on a sluggo, a slant and go, where he went upfield. Jakeem Jackson was completely dusted, and Berrien Brown probably beat him by 5. He was probably 5 yards of separation between he and Jakeem Jackson by the time he caught the ball. My point is, Berrien Brown might be your 6th guy Fifth guy, I don't know. Kyle Parker's in the mix as well. And I haven't even mentioned Destin Hill coming in from Florida State, who is this year's CJ Daniels. And we all know the role CJ Daniels played on LSU a year ago. Physical, blocking wide receiver, catches everything, sure hand, security blanket, will have a role. So all that to say, I just rattled off 7 names, and I told you the first day the most impressive catch was Teron Francis. At best, he's your 8th guy. At best, that's not even counting Jelani Watkins, who might be who is the fastest receiver in college football. And a guy like Kylan Billiot as well. I mean, there is just an absolute embarrassment of riches. And oh, by the way, haven't even talked about the tight ends. Bauer Sharp, Trades Green, Donovan Green. I mean, one of the biggest questions they're going to have is how do you keep everybody involved? How does Joe Sloan keep everybody involved in this offense? Because there are just so many guys. So defensive depth is number 1. The crazy depth and talent at wide receiver is number 2. My third takeaway so far, I'll share with you when we wrap up next. Locked on LSU, your team every day. We've all been there, logging on early, waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. If you're worried about what happens if plans change, the Game Time guarantee has your back with cancellation protection and more. And you can get panoramic seat views in the app, so you don't have to worry about what your view is going to look like from your seats. So take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem with the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. My third biggest takeaway so far is that the talent is there for this offensive line to be really good. I know that is the single biggest question for this team right now, certainly on the offensive side of the ball. You're going to have 5 new starters. Your only returning starter is DJ Chester, and he's competing at guard. We could throw Paul Mabinga in there as well because he started the last 5 games a season ago, but Mabinga is likely going to be backing up Chester at left guard this year. And I get it. That's unnerving. It's a critically important position. You have a 5th-year senior at quarterback. You have 3 talented running backs. We just went through a bevy of talented pass catchers, but it doesn't matter if you can't keep your quarterback upright or create holes for the running backs to run. And I think while it's early, and while the defensive front has been so impressive, I do think the talent is there for this offensive line to be outstanding. Now, when they ran an 11-on-11 period on Saturday, Garrett Nussmeier did not, in the first 11-on-11 period, Garrett Nussmeier didn't complete a pass. They ran 6 plays. There were two called pass plays. Both times he was pressured. Once he scrambled right, threw it out of bounds to the right. The next time scrambled left, just threw it away. The next 11-on-11 period, he completed 2 passes, one to Bauer Sharp for 5 yards, and another to Chris Hilton for a touchdown where Chris Hilton was interfered with by Jakeem Jackson. But all that to say, when I went and watched the O-line, D-line pass rush drill, and if you missed this, I charted it, and I went through it all on a previous episode. The the camp observations episode for the practice report from Saturday. So shout out to everydayers who heard or saw that episode. But this was a drill designed for one-on-one pass protection. And each offensive lineman took 2 reps from left to right, the 1s, the 2s, then 3s. So Tyree Adams, DJ Chester, Braylon Moore, Josh Thompson, Weston Davis all took reps one-on-one in a pass rush drill. And they won the majority of the reps. Weston Davis won both of his against Gabe Relaford and Patrick Payton. Josh Thompson won 2 reps against Don McKinley. Braylon Moore split a pair of reps against Ahmad Bro. DJ Chester split a pair of reps against Bernard Gooden. Tyree Adams lost a rep to Harold Perkins, no crime there, and then pushed against Jack Pyburn. My point is, the talent is there on the offensive line. It's just going to take time for the continuity. Now, it's an unenviable task having to go to Clemson game 1. And I hate that. I wish they had a layup before that. But they don't. So you got 3 weeks to get really good at playing together. But I think they got 5 really good starting players that just have to learn how to be 5 really good starting players playing together. If they do that, I think the biggest potential weakness on this LSU team could become a strength. We'll be watching it all throughout fall camp, and we'll be following it right here on Locked on LSU. Hey, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Rate us, leave a review. If you're on YouTube, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video, and let a friend know if they love the Tigers. We got you here every single day. It's Locked on LSU, your team every day.